Hello, I'm Robert Lance, and today I'll be breaking down the camera functionality for Hollow Knight. The first thing to note about the camera is how it functions when the player is in an open space. The camera is a close following, vertically center locked camera that moves smoothly while the player is moving. This allows the player to see the most area around them while traversing platforms and engaging in combat. The next function of the camera I will discuss is the forward focusing aspect of the camera. The camera will shift forward along the horizontal axis in the direction that the avatar is facing. This is to show the player the most visibility in the direction that they are moving. Along with the forward focusing aspect, the camera has ledge detection. Ledge detection is used to shift the camera down when the player approaches the edge of a platform. This is primarily used when the player must move down through a level. This allows the player to see what is below them so they are not performing blind jumps. This also emphasizes to the player that they need to travel down. The next thing of mention is the camera bounds. When the player reaches the lowest or the highest point of the level, the camera will stop following along the vertical axis. This is to show that they can no longer go higher or lower than their current position. There are also camera bounds set in place when the player is traveling horizontally. When the player reaches the farthest point along the horizontal axis, the camera will stop moving to show the player that they have reached the end of the current area. You can see both setups best when the player continues to move but the camera stops following the player. Aside from those boundaries, the camera has additional boundaries within the area they are currently in. When the player moves into a tight corridor or pathway, the camera will stop vertical movement to prevent the player from not seeing what is in front of them. This also ensures that the player's focus is where it needs to be and not on unneeded dead space. Another function of the camera is the camera lock areas. When the player enters specific areas of the level, the camera will move to a locked position where the player can move freely and the camera does not move. This function of the camera is used primarily during boss fights, enemy ambush scenarios, and secret areas that only have one entrance and exit. This is there to emphasize the importance of the area they are in and allow the player to maintain constant visibility of enemies they are facing without having to move the player to adjust the camera. Finally, the camera has dynamic feedback when the player takes damage, hits breakable walls, killing enemies, breakable environment items, or casting spells. If the player performs any of these actions, the camera will shake. This functionality is in place to give the player more of a feeling of the impact of the action. When the player takes damage, the camera shake gives the player immediate feedback that something bad has happened. When casting spells, it gives the player the feeling of the amount of power they have. And when hitting breakable walls, breakable environments, or killing enemies, it helps the player feel the impact of the attacks more than just the player getting knocked back. Thank you for watching. This is Robert Lance, signing out.